My name's Diane. I'm an ovarian cancer survivor. I feel very lucky that I am a survivor. It's been very difficult, but I had been struggling for quite a few years with bloating in my tummy, the abdominal pain. I kept going back to the doctors and they put it down to my diverticulitis. I also got a lot of water infections, which again, they put down to the menopause or they put down to your age. So there's a lot of symptoms that you can get confused with, especially as you get older. But I also like to stress that ovarian cancer can be any age. I put up with it for a while, and then once my husband had the diagnosis, it brought cancer into our lives. And I actually thought this could be ovarian cancer. At the time, I did ask the GP to do a blood test, which is called a CA125 blood test, which is what they do for ovarian cancer. And at that time, there was no vials in the NHS. This was in 2021, so this was just still in COVID times. We weren't quite out of it. So I contacted a private clinic and found out that I could have a CA125 blood test and a scan in the same day. And they discovered, yes, I have ovarian cysts. At that stage, obviously, not knowing it was going to be cancer. And the day after they rang me from the private clinic, after I've had the blood test, and they said, Mrs. Boothby, we don't want to alarm you, but your CA125 blood test is actually 375 and it should be between 0 and 35. He said, you do need to see a gynaecologist. So I then got in touch with the doctor and I said, can you now get me through on the 2-week cancer pathway? Which I did. I then went to see the gynaecologist. He decided he would do a bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy, which is removal of both ovaries. So just to see if that's all that was needed. So my husband, in the meanwhile, he'd had half of his bowel removed and he was struggling. He was having chemotherapy. So it's quite a traumatic time. I came out of hospital after the first operation on the Christmas Eve. And that Christmas we couldn't have any family. Couldn't see the grandchildren. We did get Christmas dinner. Somebody made Christmas dinner. Friends, obviously, family helped. But it was really difficult because obviously we love the family. And you don't know what your future's going to be. You're there knowing you can't see them because of the chemotherapy, and it was COVID times as well. And we did WhatsApp and things, but it's not the same as having that cuddle. Your people don't realise what you go through when you're in this situation. But I didn't know at that stage it was actually cancer. I didn't know, I hadn't been diagnosed. The diagnosis came in the January of 2022. With the actual diagnosis, what happened to me, I actually rang up and I thought, I haven't heard anything. And with it being Christmas, everything had been a bit delayed. So that was really a long wait. And then I rang the secretary and she said, oh, your report's here. I'm just waiting for him to see it. Then I received a letter to an oncology clinic without actually being diagnosed. And this came at the weekend and the appointment was on the Monday. So I went in there with my daughter because Paul, my husband, was isolating through having his chemotherapy. So I just went in there, put my hand on the desk and I said, tell me. And he said, yes, it is low-grade serous carcinoma. He said, what we want to do now is send you to the city hospital, to Norwich Hospital. He said, it is going to be a very large operation. And once they open up, they'll take anything that they can see, any cancer, as well as do the full hysterectomy. And it is major surgery. But there was no information on the surgery I was having. There was nothing, no leaflets. I was given nothing at the hospital. And I'd seen 2 consultants and not one piece of literature was given to me to understand what lay ahead with that surgery. And the operation was actually worse than I thought. When they'd said to me, yes, it's major surgery, it was. So I wasn't expecting it to be as bad as it was, I think. Then I came out of the ITU. They put me in a room on my own, on a ward. And then I went down so poorly that all the doctors come back round my bed The nurses were saying she shouldn't be in here, she needs to be back in there, we can't look after her here. People just, they hear you've had ovarian cancer. But what they don't realise is this side to it, that the trauma that it brings, and to the family, because the family are going through it. On the plus side of it, they did remove everything they could see. And for quite a few years, I have been no evidence of disease, which is really good. Apart from this last scan, I have got lymph nodes growing, and we're now waiting to see if that is anything recurring of the disease, because people don't also realise it is a high recurrence of ovarian cancer. So you live with that as well. But I then found a charity called Target Ovarian Cancer, and then I met other ladies online that also going through the same things. Later on in the year, there was an open letter day, all going to number 10 Downing Street, putting in an open letter saying more awareness is needed for ovarian cancer. From that, I have continued, and I now campaign for early diagnosis for ovarian cancer. I've lost a lot of ladies that I met because they were diagnosed too late, stage 4. One of them was an inspiration to me. She was the one, she offered to push me wheelchair in London. This is in the June, and by the September, that lady had passed away. And that's why I've pushed also in Parliament for a government backing of awareness, and that's what's needed. I now have my new MP on board. He's now become a champion for Target Ovarian Cancer in Parliament. I've also fundraised as well for the charity because it's much needed charity. I think we're very lucky, both my husband and myself, to be here. And I feel lucky that I'm here to tell the tale and that I've got a voice. And I just feel using that voice is very important. It's about getting it out there. The more we get it out there, the more lives will be saved. And I really believe that.